Today we're going to be talking about one of the toughest points of my life. It's when I went from good grades to D's and C's and then all the way back up to really great grades. And the point of this story is to kind of teach you that there is hope and that you can change things, and that school is not the end of the world or end all be all like I used to believe back in those dark times. So essentially in middle school, this is 6th, 7th grade, I was doing pretty good. I got A's and B's, but I was mostly in regular classes. The only gifted and talented class I was in was math. Now, my parents, being Asian immigrants, had pretty high standards. So every year they went out of their way to get me to test for gifted and talented for all my classes. Now, me being a child, I always just wanted to please them. So I'd always prepare and try my hardest during these GT tests. And ultimately what happened was, halfway through my 8th grade year, I tested into all gifted and talented. Now, there was no reward, there's no celebration, but I just felt like it would make my parents so happy. And I just tried my hardest. There's only so much you can do, and I was personally surprised myself. And I thought it'd be very happy, like everything would go well, but I actually didn't get a reward or anything. They were just like somewhat happier, like a very Asian thing to do, like no reward, just like slightly happier. And I built it up to be this big thing, but that was that. And I got into all these classes. Now, what happened next was kind of really tough, and that was basically I was doing well in all these tests. I had all these school projects that I was just finishing up for my existing classes. And all of that became moot because now I moved over to all gifted and talented classes, and I had to start from scratch in terms of my grades. So that kind of sucked. And then it wasn't just one class, it was like 5 classes where I went from regular history to like advanced history, and it was too much. I mean, we went from something where you sometimes got homework to being assigned like 30 pages to read every night or every other night. And it was just so overwhelming, and all that combined led to me slowly spiraling into worse and worse grades. It was a very, very tough time for me because in the back of my mind, I still wanted to please my parents. And, when they found out the report cards, they would rage and they get upset. And I would rage back, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I'm gonna surprise them. I'm gonna work even harder and get straight A's, and then surprise them and show them that I could do it. But ultimately, I couldn't. I fell more and more behind, and at some point, I just felt like, well, I already missed all these reading assignments for English and history. Like, even if I started now, I wouldn't understand the context of everything I missed. So I kind of just gave up. It was a really tough time for me, really dark. My parents weren't pleased, even though I was up a level. And that was just, it sucked because they didn't really measure me. At least I didn't feel like they were measuring me on effort. And so eventually I just shut down and stopped doing any homework assignments, and just developed a habit of not doing homework, and just this sense of dread and unhappiness at home from the disappointment and so forth. And it was just a whole mess. Plus I had other pressures and stresses because I had to practice piano every day. So that was my low, and in the spirit of keeping this video something you would actually watch to the end, I'm going to summarize it and just move to my success later on, which is in high school. I still had that terrible darkness, but probably towards the end of freshman year, I met this guy who was just a friendly acquaintance, and he was just friendly, and I would say hi, and that was that. And he lived in my neighborhood, so he was on the same bus. But for just natural reasons, I just started hanging out with him more. And as you can tell from my other videos on student success, that slowly started changing everything, because this guy loved school. He loved the process of hacking school like a game and getting good grades. He was excited, and he just thought about school in a different way. And through that, and also through kind of readjusting, so it wasn't just all advanced classes, I found a place where uh, I got into really good student habits of like getting excited to do homework and study after school. And because of all of that, I really learned to like enjoy the process of studying and hacking it, and I got better at it. And then my grades exploded and did very well by symbiosis through him. So, I could probably talk about this for 20-30 minutes, but those videos never do well. That's the short version. Hope you like it. The point is that there is hope, and yeah, you get bad grades, but really it was never the end of the world like in my mind. Like after school, I got a job, and they don't even look at your GPA when you're in the job interview. So it's just like, such a end of the world situation, but it's actually not. And through certain tweaks and not overwhelming yourself with too many advanced classes, but gradually building, you can do a better job than me. Best of luck. It was tough for me, but you have to forgive, you have to move on.